Welcome back once more for the final lap in the program this morning, Sunday edition. Let's wind up this conversation on police reforms. The president did announce a new police command on Thursday. Changes that will touch on command structure, uniforms, and naming of institutions, and so forth. Kipchumba, let me get your thoughts on this, the practicality of the changes.
Yes, well, if change should be continuous, that is welcome. But the question should be, can we have sustained change? When we talk about reforming the police, any onlooker will think we are reforming the attitude of the Kenyan police or the administration police, not the optics. Yes, while the optics in terms of uniform and everything might be fancy for the discussion, but they are not good for the long run. Because look at it this way: if today you have a company and you have lazy workers or lazy staff, you do not motivate the staff by bringing them new uniform. You motivate the staff by retraining them, giving them more salaries, looking at their welfare, not looking at how their outlook. Look at it this way: when we talk about the issue of housing, police housing, we have to take police or the administration police as human beings, as brothers and sisters. If today a policeman who operates at Vigilance House, for example, and lives in Rongai, a good house in Rongai or something like a good house in Rongai is 10,000 shillings.
Right.
Operating from Rongai to town, it will cost him another 10,000. And you have given that policeman 10 or 12,000 for the house. We need to be practical. Are we setting up these policemen for failure? Because the other thing is this: our crime rate, we cannot prescribe solutions, first world solutions to third world problems. We need to realize that our problems are still basic. The other point I thought it will have been addressed in this reform is this: why do we have 20 askaris along Moi Avenue or any other street where manning banks? Every bank at least have 3 police officers. And why don't we make the street secure and release around 10 policemen from the street? Because what is the essence of protecting a banking hall instead of making the street secure? Those are the things. And now coming back to the legal aspects on this, when you read Article 243 of the Constitution, as read together with the National Police Service Act of 2011, you realize that there are distinct roles given to each of the police unit. The Constitution of Kenya establishes Kenya Police under Article 243, and the same Constitution establishes administrative police.
Right.
For you to do anything that takes away the form and the substance of these two distinct units, you need to go back to the Constitution and walk around there. We might call them restructuring, delineation, but they must reflect the Constitution. Secondly, Kenya, we are guarded by the same Constitution, which says that public participation is one of our national values. So, was there public participation? Was there stakeholder engagement to say we are changing the colors of the police uniform to this? This is what we need. Second, the final point I have to make about this matter: we are talking about austerity measures.
All right.
What was the urgency in changing police uniform? Are we saying the ones they are wearing are not visible anymore because of lighting or what? Are we saying that there are other things that... So we need to ask ourselves, as we talk about austerity measures and for people to take us serious, why are we telling policemen in this country we are giving you housing allowance, instead of saying we are in a tight corner financially, we need to sustain these? The things that are not priority should take a back burner. Right. So my question, I am questioning some of the things we are talking, but our actions are operating on different pendulums.
All right, let's switch gears. Very important points there to another very important point. And this is the fact that some more than 26,000 administration police officers will be joining the rest of the Kenya police in what will now be called the general duty officers. So there are two sides to this dismass.
But then, just a minute before we go to dismass, just a point. When we call these people general duty officers, my thinking is this, as a lawyer: under what regime of law are they operating? Because For us to have anything, it must be brought forth by a statute.
Right.
As we call these people general duty officers, what is the law they are operating under? Yes, there is a rider under Article 243 that Parliament shall make legislation to effect that article. But we have not seen that legislation. And when you look at the remit of the National Police Act, we do not see the creation of a general duty officer.
So that is backed by no law whatsoever?
There is no law, as per
All right.
now.
So the other issue is then, the police, the Kenya police, as we call them, they are trained on the penal code, so that if they make an arrest, they can analyze the situation and charge him. The administration police officers cannot do that. So if they will then be at the police station helping out in that, first of all, how will they be able to do that? And then, does the efficiency that the president wants, the fact that the AP resources are available to the OCS, plus the vehicles, which many people say are underutilized, does that outweigh the other challenges?
Well, in my view, when we are doing these reforms, and as people are saying, it's not about uniforms. It's supposed to be the actual reform and looking at the substance. And successful police services all over the world are anchored on trust and cooperation. That the people must trust the policemen and they must cooperate with the policemen. And right now in Kenya, the typical scenario for majority of Kenyans, when they see a policeman, they actually bolt. For some reason, they see a policeman, they run, because they think the policeman is always assuming that they are guilty. But talking about the administration police, Charles Owino, the Director of Communications for the Kenya Police, indicated that there are plans to have refresher programs for all policemen. And he said that for the APs, they'll undergo the training on the penal code for them to understand what they're supposed to be doing. In my view, that will not be a challenge. The biggest challenge would be the Kenya police and administration policemen. Have they actually participated in the process of re-engineering the entire service? Because if you're giving external solutions without the policemen being active participants, without them understanding where we are supposed to be going, without doing a critical path analysis, then it may face some sort of silent revolt that the policemen will not be happy to implement these services. And also there's a critical issue that we don't want to talk about, is about their salaries. Outside the allowances, we need to talk also about their salaries. Because if you want to attract, retain, and reward top talent in the police service, you need to be able to give them good salaries. But majority of Kenyans would say that policemen have never complained about their poor pay because they have other opportunities to get income. So, in a sense, we are justifying them engaging in corruption. But as it were, there would be very few policemen who engage in corruption. And you've got others who are really dedicated to serving the nation. These are the ones that we expected the National Police Service Commission to separate the thugs who are within the police service and the gentlemen and ladies within the police service and reward those. But you see, the police vetting, many people would say that it was really a waste of time. Because, as we sit right now, how many of them were sent home because of either errors of omission or commission? Nobody knows. But at the end of the day, we need to have a police service in Kenya structured in the manner of the Japanese police service. And understand right now, the Japanese police service, most of those policemen do not have any work to do because they've been able to reduce crime. So they wake up in the morning and they own the entire day. I was actually doing some research that they were outside a supermarket and there was a car with beer. And 12 policemen stood outside the supermarket and were watching for that car for 3 days.
Right. And
then somebody came and stole that beer and they charged him. So they've been able to get a lot of resources. Crime is so low, they don't know what to do with their resources.
All right. So there's another aspect, Mark, as we wind up on this, the working relationship or sibling rivalry between the Kenya police and the regular police and the AP. Do you see these reforms addressing that?
It totally depends on how the whole thing is implemented. Because for you to be treated as an equal, there's got to be the factor of equal training and then equal access to opportunity. So yes. For example, it was always understood that if you joined the administration police and you became lucky enough to be the driver of a minister back in the day, then your job was to be the one who carries the briefcase that carries the money that a client is paying for services akin to Goldenberg services. Okay, so that the rivalry came in terms of access to VIP. Okay, if you are to turn them into a single unit and give them equal opportunity to wherever they want to be, then you might be able to deal with that, as long as what Disma said before, that the training is equal for all of them. However, the reform that is needed most in the police service, and the real elephant in the room, is the facts around corruption. The president has done well to give them a structured organization. The president has done well in terms of trying to make sense of the entire thing, because for me, I never used to understand OCPD, OCS, administration. So now there's structure that even a very basic person can understand. But will that structure address the policeman who stands in the road, not to stop traffic offenders, but to gather enough money for ugali and skuma wiki for his family? Because the joke goes that if a policeman got home and his wife told him there is no unga for ugali, he would go to the nearest road, lift up his hand and have enough money for his children. That is the issue that we need to address. If we address corruption within the police force, then the society will begin to transform.
Husband, very quickly, the issue of inequality between the two, it's a fact that if an AP officer goes to school and gets a degree, he will get promotion. When the Kenya police does the same, doesn't get promotion. I mean, do you think these reforms will address that?
Well, yeah. From what I see, I think it's a service, and the fact that they are consolidated and there's a clear chain of command means that that's an administrative issue that you probably want to assume that is subsumed within the overarching reforms agenda. And I think the people who will be put in charge, are now tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that the integration is effective and efficient, and where there is training needs in terms of the law, the penal codes, and understanding of how to handle Wananchi as a service and not as a force. I think that is a function of the people who will be charged the responsibility, and it is good that it is clear who is in charge of what, so that that rivalry does not exist.
Right.
Yeah, but in terms of training, I think it's also important that the police, because they are coming in as a service and living with members of the public, which for me they have been doing, I think they can also tap on other experts from different fields, so that the police service does not become, this closed society that we don't even understand the curriculum.
All right, let's leave it there. But 5 seconds for each of you on the police uniform. Many people seem to think it's hideous.
For me, it's a non-issue. We are addressing things that are...
Oh, we've addressed the issues. Let's address the uniform. Do you like it?
No. I'm saying the police uniform to me is a non-issue, because the matters that ought to be addressed for the Kenya police or the National Police Service are so weighty for us to address ourselves to what they wear and how they wear it.
All right. Husband?
I think in a free market economy and informed by corporate communication, branding is part of creating a totally different perception. And I think Kenyans may not be familiar with the uniform. That's why they are saying a lot. But this is part of what happens. If you want to change perception, you have to brand yourself differently.
Does it look good?
Well, to me, it doesn't.
Perspective?
Yes, it doesn't look bad. It's only that it looks different.
It doesn't look like Watchmen in Nigeria movies, like somebody described.
Yes, because we've associated this color blue with Watchmen. That is where we are coming from. But there must have been a reason why they picked this color, and I think it's part of branding.
I'm on a public record, and this is no offense to anyone, that I think that uniform is the creativity of a 2-year-old child trying to paint the sky in their homework. I don't think you rebrand to better, you don't rebrand to worse. If you looked at the uniform of the police officers who are in their ceremonial uniform, and you looked at it juxtaposed to the new one, the beauty of the two is obvious. So for me, without a doubt, I think it is hideous. I think that blue is too shiny. It's too much.
This was 5 seconds only.
Yeah, Nigerians have got a saying, dress as you want to be addressed. This uniform they've been given looks like it's just too bright. It's not elegant. It's not classic. And I doubt when you see a policeman in that kind of shouting color, even if you are colorblind,
All right.
it doesn't inspire any confidence.
All right.
But maybe I hope that the National Police Service
Thank you.
is giving this so that they get
right.
feedback and they go and work
All
on
right.
it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your thoughts on our main discussions this morning. This was Mokua, political risk analyst, Mark Bichache, political analyst and communication expert, political analyst, Hezbono Willa, political risk, political strategist, Kipchumba Karori. Thank you, gentlemen. Always a pleasure having you with me in the studio to just put perspective on some of the biggest political and governance stories in the Republic. That's Sunday edition. For today, the 16th day of September 2018, that's why we leave it on the day that Eliud Kipchoge made Kenya proud, smashing that 4-year-old world record in the men's 42-kilometer race in the Berlin Marathon, running 2 hours, 1 minute and 40 seconds. Congratulations.